This is Matt. Welcome to the Real Gamerscore podcast. This week I'm joined by Alex RD.
That's you, Alex.
This is the part where you say,
"Oh, hey,
that's you, Alex." I'm leaving that in. And Brad.
G'day.
Here at Real Gamerscore, we like to discuss all things Xbox achievements and Cyberpunk roadmaps where nothing is true and everything is delayed till later in the year. This week we talk about open world celestial battles, total non-apologies, and fucking I knew I was going to trip myself up on that fucking thing.
Super Poker Metroidvania.
Thank you, Brad. But first, here's the song of the week.
Hey, I just met you. Your games are crazy, but here's my password, so game share with me.
All right, thanks, Tarragon. Another wonderful song of the week. I'll be back next week with a song unless Tarragon's recorded a new suite of them that we can use and I can sort of sit on my ass and not do anything. But for the answer, Brad, you clearly know what it is, right? This is on your rotation.
My rotation, yeah. It's Call Me Maybe. I can't remember her name, though. Carly something.
Carly Rae Jepsen.
Oh, there you go. Nice for the assist there. Good job, Alex. Yes, it was a nice, easy one. Thank you, Tarragon. All right, now let's get into the show. As you've heard, it's me, Alex number 2, new Alex. We'll find a moniker. Don't worry, we'll get there. We'll come up with something. And Brad. So, Brad, this is your first time on the show, right?
It's been a while, apparently.
Well, I mean, the last couple of appearances you've made have been more in a sort of spiritual ghost form where we don't actually get any of your recording.
The last time the recording didn't pick up any of my audio because I was an idiot.
Yeah, so hopefully that you're coming through loud and clear this time. But we'll enjoy the conversation no matter what. If you want to enjoy some good conversations with us, or some bad ones, discord.io/realgamerscore is our Discord channel. Essentially, it's a big chat room where you can, fulfill all your ASL fantasies from the early 80s, and then talk about video games occasionally. There's also some silly chat, there's some serious chat, there's all kinds of stuff. If you're looking for anything achievement, video game related, or even off-topic related, and you want to chat to a bunch of people, it's a good spot to do it. Especially if you're looking for help with boosting lobbies or with games and looking for boosting partners and that kind of stuff. We're a good bunch of people who will be happy to help you out. Not me, obviously, but other people. Also, Patreon. Patreon.com/RealGamerscore is our Patreon. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's essentially a way to give you, the creators that you care about, money. We always appreciate, as much money as you can give us. We use it to run competitions, keep the lights running, that kind of stuff. We've got a couple of changes to our Patreon, or a couple of new people. So we've got, CJ, I don't know if he wants me to read his whole name out, has actually changed his Patreon and upped it, so we really appreciate that. And we've got a new Patreon, Charlotte. Thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it. It's our first new Patreon in a long time. Clearly, we're doing some great, great work. So we'll keep it up. All right, and we'll get straight into the news. So what's been going on, guys?
EA no longer has an exclusive Star Wars license. They've just announced that Ubisoft is being tapped to make an open-world Star Wars game, and I think we can all agree that Ubisoft right now are the kings and queens of open world.
Yeah, I mean, partly because everyone else got tired of the concept and Ubisoft have sort of beaten it into the ground. But having said that, it's being made by Massive Entertainment, who are the people who made The Division and The Division 2. So I am pretty excited. We haven't really got much more details than that, but I think, would you guys agree that it's a good thing that other people are finally getting their hands on the Star Wars IP?
I think for me it's got to be, because all it means is you've got twice as many potential sources of talent working on games for it. Losing the exclusivity is simply good, and it won't make masterful magic projects overnight. Ubisoft aren't necessarily better than EA, but we've got more cooks doing their thing.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And we all know that adding more cooks to something always makes it better.
Well, it can. I mean, are they going to go the route where people need to ask permission first, or are they going to go Games Workshop route and just let anyone make whatever they want?
Okay, well, in Games Workshop's defense, it wasn't so much that... I mean, yeah, you're right. They did basically let anyone... You had to ask them for permission, but it was basically a rubber stamp. They were like, oh, you want to make something Warhammer related? Yeah, just go for it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that there's a little bit slightly tighter reins on it, because some of the games that came out on the Warhammer IP have been absolute dog shit.
Yeah, but it also it allows for a lot of creativity as well. Like, there's a lot of stuff that have come out that's been really good.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, I mean, look, I'm personally invested in the Star Wars universe. I'm not personally invested in the Warhammer universe, so my views on this are going to be very biased. But the way that the Star Wars universe has changed under Disney, essentially, if for people who don't know, they essentially reset the entire continuity from when they bought it to remove all of the previous extended universe content.
Legends.
And only
they wiped
stuff.
out Legends pretty much, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this new stuff is now the new canon from when they purchased it, from before The Force Awakens came out. And so the new content that comes out for it now, it has to fit into that universe. So
Yeah,
they have a
that's
story
what I was
group,
gonna
and
say, yeah. Any game that comes, they have to make sure it's not retconning or creating new canon that they're not okay with.
Yeah, exactly. Which is probably a bit more of a process than just a rubber stamp.
Yeah.
Having said that, this is I don't want to get too into the minutiae on it, but there is also a hierarchy of, if canon does butt heads against each other, which it sometimes has done, what supersedes what? What is more canon than the previous canon? So I'll be interested to see what they come up with, and where this is set. Again, we have basically no details, but they have Disney have set up, I think it's a Lucasfilm Games, I think was their new
That's old.
publishing.
Lucasfilm Games is the old studio.
Yeah.
Well,
LucasArts.
look at LucasArts was the old studio. So this new studio is not necessarily, it's not a game development studio. It's more Lucasfilm Games is their new thing. Is essentially their partnering agency. So they're going to be the ones going forward that are going to be licensing these games out to these developers, and probably going to be involved in these sort of story group decisions, and sort of, I guess, more of a producing sort of role, I guess, if you want to use a film analogy. What that is remains to be seen, because we haven't really seen any more information besides just this announcement. But I'm very, very excited.
I'm hopeful,
The other
but
thing
I
is
mean,
that-
it's hard to put Star Wars in a worse spot than it is right now. So,
ouch. But also, yeah, I mean,
I'm one of
in
the
terms of-
the rare people that think Last Jedi was the best of the last three.
I actually I quite enjoyed Last
Other than
Jedi.
what they did with Luke Skywalker sucked, but the film as a whole was better than Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker.
Boy, I can already tell this is going to be a spin-off podcast. Don't worry, I'm writing this down. Sorry,
Okay,
Alex.
so having cut the last 2 hours of the conversation, because nobody needed to hear any of
Yeah,
those,
no, yeah, we got through all that, yeah.
I reckon they're going to get the story bit working, because this is massive-sized major publishers. Ubisoft juggle the Assassin's Creed story without making too many contradictions, so they can probably jump into Star Wars.
Well, the
they've
Assassin's
got
Creed
the
story is a bit
teams.
all over the place as it is as well.
Oh, it
I
is.
mean, I've been playing through all of it because I wanted to catch up, and I've played from Black Flag. I'm up to Odyssey finally now, and the further in you get, the less it has to do with any of like the current timeline stuff, and it's all just dealing with the
But
plot.
I think that's very intentional. I mean, again, not to get on another tangent, but they definitely shot themselves in the foot when they offed Desmond at the end of 3. Spoilers. But like, again, they kind of realized, oh, well, we don't have a main real world protagonist that kind of works, and they've had to sort of change a few things up, and it took a long time for them to get to what they currently did with Odyssey and Origins.
I mean, Odyssey doesn't even make sense because Origins was like the birth of the Assassin's Creed
yeah.
Bureau, and then they go to Odyssey and it's not even there yet, and they're just
It's all precursors on precursors.
yeah.
Half of them have the birth of the new thing anyway. Both 1 and 2 did that.
Yeah, 100% right. What I wanted to bring up was EA. As soon as this came out, EA were very quick to jump on the fact that, oh, no, we're still making Star Wars games. We haven't lost the license to do so by massive
They just don't
negligence
get
or
exclusivity. Yeah.
or huge incompetence. But yeah, so now it's no longer exclusive. I mean, I say that Fallen Order was one of my favorite games of that year, a couple years ago when it came out. I know that there are some people who weren't huge fans of it, but in terms of like a Star Wars nerd like myself, having that with the sort of Sekiro light style Metroidvania with, unlocking abilities and a really sort of interesting story that sort of delves into some stuff that I really like about that sort of period of the Star Wars universe. It was basically a perfect game for me in a lot of ways. And And I'll be very interested to see what they do going forward, because I mean they massively sequel baited at the end of it. So like I would not be surprised if Respawn are working on a new one, because they basically said they weren't going to do any DLC or any extended content for it. So it looks like a new game would probably be what they would be working on. I mean, because the other bit is that it is Star Wars Jedi Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So essentially they're well set up to just chuck something else on the end of it and make it a sequel.
Yeah. I'd like to see them...
And quick plug, that's in Game Pass now.
I'd like to see a lot more older stuff done. Like, I'd like to see them do more High Republic and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, although a lot of the High Republic stuff has been delayed due to COVID and a lot of other bits and pieces, so it might be a while. But I'm hoping that, again, this new Star Wars stuff from Ubisoft might actually be, maybe something in that period. It would probably tie in quite well, but given how long it takes to make games, who knows? Again, like Alex said, they're not going to be spinning up stuff immediately.
I know Kathleen Kennedy's in charge of the films. Does she have any say in games and the TV and all that sort of stuff as well?
We don't know, but I imagine she'll be brought together by the committee that is Lucasfilm's games. So this is where they've got that producing and curation role. They'll put her in a room, the movie heads in a room, and the games heads in a room, and they'll try and get them to mess
probably will
with
be bad
Division.
I mean, look, as long as the game's good, I even me, who is I'm a story narrative gamer, I don't really care too much for gameplay, but they really need to put something out for it. I need something to sink my teeth into. A big open world RPG is 100% what I'm in the mood for in terms of Star Wars.
Well,
I mean, who knows?
There was a mock up Assassin's Creed Tatooine.
Exactly. Something like that.
I don't think they should do that, because that would screw a lot of the weird stuff up. But I think based on how they handle Assassin's Creed, if they did it properly, they could do a really good bounty hunter style game.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one of the talk was that they might be going back to doing the 1313 concept.
The Boba Fett.
Yeah, exactly, with the Amy Hennig stuff, what they were originally working on. Who knows, again, in terms of rights to stuff, and again, they might be starting with a clean slate. This might be built on top of the Division tech, so it might be more in that sort of vein of a bit more grounded.
Yeah.
Not so much jumping off of towers, but more sort of third-person shooter style. We just really don't know. But there's a lot of opportunity, and I'm really, really excited. I just hope it doesn't take, 4 or 5 years for this to come out.
Yeah, I think to wrap, it's positive from all angles. It's good for gamers that we've just got more talented, massive studios ready to make Star Wars games. It's good for EA, to be honest, because they can still make the games and they don't have to pay a wodge of cash each year for exclusivity. And it's also promising that we have this new Lucasfilms games wing coming out, because they seem to be more active than just Star Wars.
Which I think we'll touch on next is there was another sort of teaser announcement that's been brought out, is that Bethesda's Machine Games, who are most well known for the current Wolfensteins, are now an indie developer, in that they're developing a new Indiana Jones game in conjunction with Lucasfilms. This was sort of teased with a video with the classic panning over a desk with some books about archaeology on it and some diaries, and then a hat and the whip and all that sort of stuff. So no real content. It was very much teaser trailer stuff. But I say probably the most interesting thing about it is that it's being executively produced by Todd Howard, who for those who don't know, he was essentially the head guy at Bethesda Game Studios, working on. Yes, I mean, definitely. He's also very short. Not that that's relevant, but I see that line a lot. He was, in charge of the teams doing the Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Fallout 76 especially, and also Starfield and the new Elder Scrolls 6 that's coming out. Apparently, he's being this producer role. He's come out and said that this isn't going to affect development of that. It's a completely separate team. He's going to be producing on this, but again, his focus is more going to be on the previous stuff. What I've heard brought up is that it's interesting to see him in this executive producer role, and whether this is just happens to be something that he wanted to do, or whether this is to do partly with changing of who's going to be doing what now that Microsoft are going to be acquiring Bethesda.
Like they've said, we want you to run point on this or something like that.
Yeah, well, so part of what's happened in the past with, typical mergers and acquisitions talk is that, okay, we have, Microsoft has their head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, or you have your head of this department, and it's like, okay, well, now you were head of the studio, but now we have someone who is head of all of our in-house studios, so we don't really need you in that role anymore, but we also don't want to just get rid of you or your talent, so we need to move people around in terms of, where do they fit in, what can we do with them. And so the question is, like, is this going to be Todd Howard's kind of thing going forward? Is he going to be moving away from being just the Bethesda Studios guys to more the ZeniMax Bethesda overall producing type, as he's having more of a hand over a lot of the other projects that they work on?
Where they talk about him stepping back and it not impacting the other work he does, I suspect that leans more towards a sort of chairman type role. Because you get different things with the executive producer, but ultimately it's like the overarching producer who sits above and bundles the rest in. And my speculation would be, as they say, he's going to have the bandwidth to do several projects. They're really talking about him being a sort of convening chair who has the last word in a group of 4 to 5 co-creatives who go and make the game together.
Yeah, and I think that's probably not a bad move for him. I mean, he's been doing this for a long time. And it's probably the right move. I'll be very interested. Again, the deal hasn't been finalized quite yet in terms of the Microsoft Bethesda acquisition. I mean, pretty much it's waiting for the ink to dry, dotting the I's, crossing the T's kind of stuff. But I guess people are speculating that there's definitely going to be some changes and how that structure is going to work. How much of it's going to be rolled into Microsoft stuff? Are they going to be... Is the other Bethesda studios going to be kind of left on their own, and just Microsoft just kind of want to take a bit of a cut and have some minor influence on things like exclusivity or co-marketing and things like that? Or is it going to be, no, these are now Xbox studios, and Bethesda kind of essentially ceases to be?
Well, I think after the last couple of years with how Bethesda has performed, Microsoft will probably want to have some oversight going forward for a little while, and once Bethesda, picks up and gets a bit better PR and a bit more consumer, what's the word? Brownie points, I guess. Goodwill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once they get some of that going, then they'll probably back off a little bit and leave Bethesda to their own devices. But for now, I think they want to, make sure they're going to get good return on their investment, and they're not just going to, crap themselves.
Yeah, I mean, because you're right. Their last couple of games haven't been. I mean, they've still sold relatively well, but critically have not been super well received. It's been a while since Skyrim set the world ablaze back in 2011,
and we're on our 17th release of it.
Just about, yeah. But I'm waiting for the next announcement.
I reckon Bethesda's going to be just fine, and the main conversation Microsoft will have with them is, what can we give you with our bagfuls of cash to help get the next Elder Scrolls more quickly? Like, what do you need for that bandwidth? The people who should be quaking in their boots, probably, are ZeniMax head office. Because ZeniMax were just there to supervise a bunch of studios. And that's, like you said yourself, that's where they replace it, right? So the studios themselves, probably fine for now, probably just a bit of, what would you do with infinite money? But ZeniMax, watch out.
Yeah, I mean, it does tend to be the people at the top that probably need to be a little careful in these situations, and finding a new niche for themselves is probably a smart move. All right.
Going back to Star Wars quickly, I was thinking, I would love to see like a Knights of the Old Republic style game, obviously, because we all love those.
Yeah, but maybe make it like a massively multiplayer online game with a lot of different people.
Well, I was thinking like Elite Dangerous is like the perfect blueprint to go with a Star Wars game. All that.
Sure.
Like,
So you
really full-on simulation space flight, mixing that with Star Wars.
I mean, I'd love that. I mean, like, I think you're taking some Squadrons tech and moving it in that direction could be really interesting. But I don't know. I mean, is there a market for that anymore? That's not so hugely niche that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Elite Dangerous has its niche for sure, but that's you don't hear about it all that often unless Tarragon's spouting about how he's loving it.
Well,
we
when
really-
this
we
new
really should
update
get-
comes out, you're going to be hearing a lot more, I think.
Oh, I'm sure I'll get Tarragon and Planting to want to be on the show that week, and I'll just switch off. I'll just take that week off. Actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll do that. Everyone gets a holiday. All right, let's move on to what we've got next. We've got you might have heard of this game, Cyberpunk 2077. It's apparently, according to CD Projekt Red, their developer, it's going to be coming out, I think, towards the end of this year. Yeah, they've I'm being a little bit facetious, but they've CD Projekt Red have come out with an apology. They've come hat in hand and said, "Okay, look, we've definitely fucked this up. We want to make the best games possible. Usual, PR speak. And that stuff is not hugely interesting. What they do talk about a little bit is the behind the scenes, some of the scope problems that they were having." Issues with getting it working on the previous generation, which is not surprising. We've seen that, and that they've underestimated the task.
They had said Cyberpunk will land at the end of 2020, and then we're going to release a bunch of free DLC. And all they've been saying is that DLC is going to slow down a bit, largely, because the first thing they're going to focus on is a couple of very, very needed patches. But they are stressing these patches. They're not going to be targeting the next-gen consoles yet. The roadmap we're looking at now is first quarter of 2021. We're going to see 2 patches which help performance on current systems. Through the mid-range of 2021, they're going to start putting out that free DLC. And in the second half of 2021, which, let's face it, probably means November, December, but in the second half of 2021, we're going to get the next-gen console updates. I'll admit, my plan from the start was to wait for the next-gen console updates, because even if this had gone 100% smoothly, these massive games are always full of bugs, and you're generally better off waiting. Nothing I've seen in the last 6 months has changed my mind on that.
Yeah, and I get the feeling that nothing you see in the next 6 months will probably change that either.
No.
I'm 100% on the same wavelength as that. Like, I most people who know me will know that I'm a relatively patient gamer, and that I always tend to wait because I've been burnt in the past before by games having additional content added to them, or being broken, or all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And there really is, unless you want to be part of the zeitgeist talking about the game and getting into the story and being on a podcast talking about it, it doesn't really matter. Like, there's no reason to jump on this right now. Like, I'm 100% with you on this, Alex. Like, you might as well wait for the next gen console launch, because they're doing smart delivery. You'll probably be able to pick up a copy for $30 by that point, or even less, because people will be annoyed with it and trade it in.
See, I've actually found it's the opposite with because of smart delivery. A lot of games that, and not just smart delivery, but because a lot of stuff has been getting like slight upgrades, I've seen prices going back up in game stores.
That's a fair point, but I think part of it is that we've got, like, Cyberpunk had such a, like, it's a huge sales. Like, they've had massive sales. I think it was the third most popular game on Steam. Like, it's sold very, very well, but I'm guessing that, like, there isn't a lot to chew on once you get through that content. Like, this isn't a Witcher game. I know people, like, obviously The Witcher has 100, 200 hours of content with those free DLCs they added, and then the story DLCs they added afterwards. There's a lot there, whereas this is more of a narrative experience with open world elements that people are going to most likely play for maybe 30, 40 hours and then be done with. So I think we're going to see a lot more of them being traded in. You're probably right. They're probably not going to be that much cheaper, but give it towards the end of the year when they release this next gen version. Normally what you would see is, okay, if we're going to do a re-release of a game, because they're going to probably want to get this in stores with the next gen version branding on it, is you would say, oh yeah, we'll do a re-release and we'll put all of the downloadable content that you normally have to pay for in, like, a Game of the Year edition. Although who would name this Game of the Year, I have no idea.
Many did.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
That's like bugs and all that aside. Apparently, it is an amazing game.
I mean, yeah, but anyway, I'm not going to get into the weeds of it until I played it.
No, neither. I did see sort of like a Cliff Notes version of the apology and all that sort of stuff. And what I saw was that they sort of tried. It seemed like they sort of tried to pass the buck to the QA. and that was
Yeah.
kind of crap.
And there's also a lot of stuff, like if you watch the video, they have a video that they
Yeah.
put up. It was on Reddit. There was a lot of discussion about it as well. There was a lot of that passing the buck, a lot of not addressing certain things, or just kind of like saying things and then not saying what's going to be changed about them. Like it felt very, considering how long it took them to put out this apology and this sort of thing, that they are being raked over the coals and people saying that people are being too harsh. But realistically, like what do they think was going to happen?
I think they said they didn't anticipate this many issues, and I mean, like if there was a few bugs, fine, but even like the PC, like the proper good version that the PC got, the amount of bugs, there's no way they didn't realize there was that many issues with it before sending it out.
And having things like placeholder art and things like that in street signs and stuff like that, and also there is the talk that they intentionally hid this because they did know about it. By only releasing PC review code and not allowing people to have access to the consoles.
I do think they were stuck in a bit of a hard place. Like they either delayed the game again, which like they couldn't keep doing it as much. Like they were stuck. They either kept delaying it, or they released a half-finished product and fixed it as they go. And the amount of times they had delayed it already, it put them in a really tough spot.
Yeah, and like they've this definitely was a management decision rather than a developer decision. But I don't think passing the buck and trying to be like, oh yeah, we're sorry, but also this is other people's fault as well. Like that's not really the tone you want to be taking when it comes to this kind of stuff.
They shouldn't have even really given it a release date until they knew they had a working version.
Yeah, well.
That's easier said than done, because they're a listed company. They've got to talk about their plans. They have to publish forecasts. They're legally required to have made internal estimates of this stuff, and then they're also legally required, once they have an internal estimate, to share it with people. So they really don't have too much wiggle room. They have to put something out there, but of course the same laws require them to be upfront and honest about what's going on with the game, which is why they've got sued about it.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say, is that we learned a lot of the stuff before the apology from things like investor calls, because they're public and you're able to get access to them, to the people who are involved, because you're right. But that is the other bit, is that now they're being sued by those investors because of potential, they've claimed that they've been misled into the progress of the game, the quality of it, features, all kinds of stuff in terms of and I think one of the things they were hanging on was saying, oh, the game is complete, and it's just sort of it's just bug fixes and work to do. And the argument they're making is that the game was never complete, and that essentially that is a false statement that they gave out to investors. I guess that the question is, what do you define as a complete game?
Yeah,
some people would say, like, oh, I can play it from beginning to end from a story perspective, and that is it's complete, or feature complete, or however you want to put it. And I'm sure that there'll be many arguments about that over the years. I can't wait for the inevitable tell-all book or documentary that comes out about this process, though, because. In no small terms is this a clusterfuck. Like, this is just the amount from its announcement back in, what was it, like 2013? It's been like
a long time.
It's been a long time since they showed that trailer off to it coming out. Like, yeah, it's unbelievable.
So to sum up, they've put out a non-apology. They've reissued the roadmap, which basically reassures you that some patches are coming, but if you want to play this on Series X, you're waiting till the end of this year. I do want to make one small caveat to that, given the audience of this podcast, achievement hunters. People who got into this game do say, if you already own it, you may want to jump in right now, because there is an infinite money glitch, essentially. So if you already own this game, if you really want to get your achievements in the most efficient way possible, can't think who, then maybe jump into it now, use the glitch or whatever, I think it's a duplication glitch, basically make enough money to buy all the cars later, because that's a big time-consuming achievement, and then shut it down and come back in a year, basically. And we'll be there with you, because everyone says this is an amazing game under the skin, and I can't wait to get the best of it, but that's a long time coming.
Yeah, and because I do have it sitting on my console, and I have been tempted to fire it up and give it a go, but all the reports I'm hearing from, again, I've played a lot of trash in my time, but so if it was like, oh, there's visual bugs or things get a bit weird every now and then, I can deal with that. Like, I'm more interested in the narrative, because I've heard that the main storyline is quite good. but running the risk of playing 20 hours and getting locked into a room, or having, getting your save corrupted, or game breaking glitches that stop you from progressing and make you want to have to restart.
Yeah.
Like, that's just too much of a risk for me to want to take at this point, no matter how much I want to play it. And so I am just going to wait. We'll see what it looks like after the first 2 patches, but I think I probably will be waiting until that next gen update.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm going to be waiting. I mean, I'm waiting for that, and I was going to start Witcher 3 before, after I finished all the Assassin's Creed stuff, but I'm going to wait for that patch as well, because I want to play that as nicely looking as I can.
It'll look really good. Yeah, I'll go back to that. Actually, I need to do the Game of the Year edition. All right.
Let's talk about something
then,
happier.
Yeah, I was going to say, Alex, you've brought a happy topic to us.
Yeah, well, actually, it's Little Nightmares. So for those who don't know, Little Nightmares is this awful, awful game where you play as this tiny, isolated, scared kid in a massive house full of really creepy stuff. It's on the news list because Little Nightmares 2 has a hard release date of 11th of February, and a demo dropped. Yes, you heard me right, there's a demo. You can actually download in the Microsoft Store to play the first level of the game. Who does this anymore?
Are they paying you?
I've played the demo.
Yeah. Hashtag sponsored, hashtag ad.
Yeah. It sounds like you're spruiking for them.
But I love Little Nightmares 1 because it is in the Limbo and Inside vein, where you've got this sort of 2D, 3D platformer where you're basically side-scrolling, but in a modern environment. The sound design is amazing. The atmosphere is stunning. The platforming, it's not really precision platforming, but they do require you to get your timing right, to be smart about picking up visual cues and things. And Little Nightmares 2, based on the demo, looks to have recaptured a whole bunch of this. Playing through that first level basically reassured me that the good stuff is there, and they are bringing new ideas which fit in. And that's all I'm going to say. But Little Nightmares 1 has just come to Games with Gold for January, so you still have time to download it. Little Nightmares 2 has a demo out now, and has the real thing coming next month. And it's great to just see games which are finished, coming and hitting, ready to play, being great experiences. This is why we're here, so I was quite stoked.
Yeah, I love the original game, so I'm really excited to see what they do with this one. Debating whether I'm going to play the demo or whether damn it, no, I'm not allowed to buy any games this year.
Demo 10 times.
You already did that last year.
No, I know. Well, yeah, but we talked about that last week because you obviously haven't listened to it.
I'm about 40 minutes in the last week.
Yeah, so to be fair, last week's was a 3-hour episode, so I understand that. Yeah, so I was like, oh yeah, I did really well, and then I looked at my receipts in my emails, and I'd bought 20 things. To be fair, some of those was DLC, and some of those were gift card purchases and things like that. So it was probably about 10 actual games that I bought.
I'm pretty sure a few of us sent you things over the years, so it sort of evens out.
That's true. Yes, true. So yeah, I cannot fall at the first hurdle in fucking February though. I can't. I can't do that. So we'll see. I'm sure it'll end up on Game Pass or Games with Gold at some stage. And I'm sure. Are you going to be picking it up day one, Alex?
I'm not sure. I don't pick up much day one, to be fair, just because I don't tend to pay full price for games. So it's going to depend on my mood. I won't buy it until I'm ready to play it that day. Unless it's on sale.
Sounds good.
So I probably won't get it day one, but I will get it this year.
Cool. All right, sounds good. Well, we'll definitely have you on for a review then.
Sure thing.
All right. And I think that pretty much wraps up the news. So let's get into what we've been working on. Brad, what have you been playing? It's been a while since we've had you on the show.
Yeah, like I said, I've been slowly working my way through all the Assassin's Creeds because I wanted to catch up in the series. I've played through Black Flag, Unity, Syndicate, Origins, and now I'm into Odyssey.
Oof.
And I gotta say, I think they nailed it with Origins. That was a perfect mix of RPG and Assassin's Creed. Odyssey I don't like as much.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's, again, I haven't played Odyssey, but that's kind of what I've been hearing a little bit, is that obviously they changed things up quite a bit with Origins from the previous titles, but that it was kind of that they might have gone a little too far in that vein for some people in Odyssey. Yeah,
they definitely did. I think I said it earlier, if it wasn't, I said it on TA as well, if it wasn't an Assassin's Creed game, it would be a really good game. it being Assassin's Creed makes it an okay game.
What in particular is I mean, like, let's talk about some of the good stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so you've been going on this journey. What have you picked up? What have you enjoyed?
I actually really, really liked both Unity and Syndicate. Syndicate was much better than I expected because that copped a lot of flack, I'm pretty sure, and Unity did as well. But they were
Unity especially, yeah.
They were both really good. Black Flag is a really good one. The naval stuff's fun in that, but it was very grindy. So that sort of... I mean, by the time I finished the story, I'd done most of the grindy stuff, but that's just my playstyle to begin with, so... but yeah, Origins is definitely my favourite out of them. Just because I love RPGs in the first place, and that really, the mix of RPG and the Assassin's Creed sort of gameplay really went well together. But it was visually, it was like it looks amazing. Origin stuff.
Yes, they always knock it out of the park with that. Once the faces actually when they render in, they look really good.
I mean, Origins I think looks better than Odyssey. Just like
Really?
just because of the way the Egyptian landscape looks as well. I mean, like Odyssey and Greece still looks good, but Origins looks really great with like the towering, Egyptian monoliths and all that sort of stuff. Looks really nice. And I bought really early and played through Immortals: Phoenix Rising.
I was going to ask about
that's
that.
an
Actually,
amazing
yeah.
game. I think that's
Okay.
probably one of the best games from last year.
Wow,
That's
okay.
good to hear. A lot of people are raving about it.
It's
I've heard
very
little
good.
that's bad.
Very, very good game. The combat is done really well. It's like it's just really fluid and really easy to pick up. And if you're good with the combat, you can go to areas where you might be a little bit under leveled, and you can still do well because it's done. It's just done so well. Yeah.
So you get like there is like a skill base that you kind of
you
can top yourself up with. Gotcha. Okay.
That's always fun because you can get yourself into a lot of trouble and make some great memories with brutal scrambles and escapes, or just getting smushed into a cliffside.
Yeah.
But there is that great feeling of just being massively overpowered, or just like outskilling your enemy.
Oh
and just,
yeah, by the time
they
you get
can't
to
even-
the end
when
of
they can't
it,
even
you
touch you,
mow
it's
through
just so
everything,
good.
Yeah, which is still fun because like I said, the combat is done really well, and I'm a big fan of Greek mythology, so that like really helps seal it for me as well.
Might have to get Cameron to play that, because I think he would really, really enjoy it as well. It definitely seems like his kind of game. Alex, have you played through any Assassin's Creed? You got any history with them?
Yeah, I played through the early set. Number 1, all the 2s essentially, and then fell off the wagon with 3. And I've dived back into Origins, but I've only just got started, basically. I dived the game last year. That's about all I've done. I love the original concept, like the meshing of the new and the old, tying the two storylines, brilliant. Obviously, that's the bit they completely forgot about, so what brought me in has sort of gone. I've always liked the platforming exploration stuff. That's not unique to Assassin's Creed. It was a massive thing in Prince of Persia, in the old Tomb Raider games. So that part of just figuring out how you could get that little bit higher in each of the buildings and how you could then take a route to assassinate someone. Again, most of the stuff I really loved is the stuff that's fallen out of the series, to be fair. So I'm interested to see whether Origins pulls me back in, because I've heard a lot of people say that it's a really worthwhile reboot, but I don't know the answer to that yet.
Yeah, I've played through pretty much every single one except for Odyssey and Valhalla at this point. And like Origins was definitely a big change up. I did really, really enjoy it. It did overstay its welcome a little bit, especially if you're going to go for that full completion. It's that last achievement for clearing out every single like mapped location is just busy work.
My play style, I was doing that as I went anyway, so it was fine.
Yeah, but you're a madman, Brad. Like, what is wrong with you, mate? There's so many of them. There's over 100 locations to go to.
Yeah, I was done with that part really quick because there was only a couple of places that I hadn't been to.
Unbelievable.
I'd
I
rather
love the
collect
exploration.
locations than feathers.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. At least you get to kill people. Yeah, so I want to play through Odyssey, but a lot of what I've been hearing is that like it takes that like grind and the stuff and just kind of stretches it even further.
There's not as much direction either. like, I mean, there's still the story quest and all that sort of stuff, but one of the main parts of it is there's a cult and it wants you to take out all the members of the cult. It just says, here's the cult, here you sort of unlock clues to who the people are, and then you find out who they are and kill them. But it just sort of says, go nuts.
All right. I mean, the thing that always gave me pause was the fact that they immediately sold an XP doubler immediately.
You don't have to worry about that.
All right. Well, in that case, maybe I will start it when I get a free moment.
Just that they do have a setting similar to Origins where you can either enemies are always at their default level or they scale with you, so XP doesn't slow down. So
gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
That's good.
All right.
I do think Origins I enjoyed Stargate, so I think they missed out a little in joke there. It would have been fun to have something like that pop up.
Some Teal'c stuff.
No, just having the gate like sit there somewhere.
This is what are you talking about, man? This is all about historical accuracy. Also, don't worry about the giant snake. Anything else you've been playing, Brad?
No, that's it really. I've just been going nuts on that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's not surprising. It's a big investment.
Well, yeah, Odyssey. I don't know how long it'll take me to do Odyssey, just because it is quite big. But
once you finish it, let me know, because I'm curious to get some more estimates on how long it actually takes, as opposed to the liars on TA.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I'll jump through quickly a couple things that I've been playing. Nothing terribly exciting. I have been playing Rise: Son of Rome.
I need to get back to that. I just need to do
exactly
stuff. Yeah.
That's 100% what it was. It's been one of those. I need to get back to that game for the last 5 years.
A really good game, though. It was very good. I enjoyed it.
I like this. I like the single player in terms of actual content.
Really
it's very much a tech demo. Like there's not a lot to it. It looks nice. The load times are unforgivable. Like there's like 2 to 3 minute load times when you do the arena stuff. It's just unbelievable.
Even on the Series X, it doesn't go much faster.
Doesn't go any faster. If it does, it's not by that much. Like that's why I waited to play it on the Series X, because I was like, oh, this is going to be lightning fast. It's going to get me in there in like 10 seconds. I'll get in there. I'll start cutting dudes up. So I'd done all the other content. All I had left was to level up. I was like level 50 or 60. I needed to get to level 200.
Whoa.
Yes, it's a long grind. So it's taken me this week to work on it. There is a trick where you can essentially, every time you build up a combo, if you quit out and then restart the map, as long as you taunt right when the map starts, you get to keep that combo, and if you hit an enemy, it'll keep it. So you can essentially build up huge combos, and because the experience increases exponentially with how much your combos are, if you get to say like a 2,000, don't go above 2,000 because the game will struggle to keep it and it will occasionally crash. But if you get to say like a 2,000 combo, you can go up by about like 50 to 60 levels in one go. Having said that, it takes every playthrough part of the map, like fighting the first 5 enemies, gets you about 50 combo if you do all the executions and everything. So you do the math. There's a really good solution for it on TA, but it does like I spent most of the time, like I had like podcasts and streams and stuff running in the background, because most of the time I just sat there looking at the load screens, waiting for it to load in. It was really bad, but it's done. It's a fine enough game. The combat system is interesting. I kind of like the story, but it does have a very it was a launch title for the Xbox One, and it really shows, because there was a lot of monetization stuff. There was a lot of tech demo stuff. Looks really, really good. It's essentially fighting Forza, if we want to put it in a way that most people understand. It runs on the same sort of combat system as, say, like a Batman sort of style. Like, you've got your stun, you've got your attack, you've got your block, that sort of stuff. You got your dodge. But it's on Game Pass. If you want to play through it, it's a pretty easy completion. It just takes a bit of time. And now that the monetizations have been pulled out, they basically give you can go to the Xbox store and get unlimited gold. So you just keep purchasing the gold for $0, and you'll just have heaps of it, so you can buy all the RNG equipment and open all the loot boxes that you need. The other thing that I've been working on is Halo Spartan Assault.
That's the twin stick one, yeah? That was fun.
The top-down twin stick. It's a really fun game, actually. Yeah, it's 5, 10, 15... There's 30 levels. 25 originally with 5 for the DLC. So I was doing the 360 version. because they are shutting down the multiplayer for that. I'd done most of it already. It was really just a case of grinding out all 90. Each of the levels has like 3 optional objectives that you just have to grind out to do. You can't most of them you can't do in a single playthrough. So it's just kind of the levels are short, so they want to incentivize you to sort of play it in bite-sized chunks. And then getting gold in all the missions was kind of what I worked on today. And now that that's done, I got it all finished and fired up the Xbox One version and basically popped pretty much all of the achievements because the content goes across. The only thing you basically need to do are the sort of achievements within the missions, like do this mission without leaving your tank or without getting into a tank or that sort of stuff, like really easy stuff. So did that. Little bit. I've got 1 achievement left for the multiplayer where I need to play with 5 different people. I've played with 3 so far, so I need to find 2 more people to play with. Then that's done. And then I decided, just for good measure, I'd fire up the Windows 8 version of it as well, because it's on Game Pass, because all the content transfers over there as well. So I got that completed as well. So it's been a good game, a good day for completions.
Nice.
But so that's essentially the same game 3 times. I'm thinking about whether I want to do the Spartan Strike game that they've got on there as well. Maybe. It looks like more of the same, but relatively simple. Bit of a shorter completion, but I enjoyed the style, and I do hope that it maybe do more of that with Infinite. I don't again in terms of whether they do more spin-offs or if Infinite's success, maybe they do more of the stuff. But who knows? Who even knows when Infinite's coming out at this point? So, but yeah, really enjoyable for what they are. Really good sort of bite-sized chunks. You can tell that they made it with sort of the sort of phone market in mind, but yeah, really enjoyed it. Alex, what have you been playing, mate?
I've been playing Monster Sanctuary. So most of you will have heard of that, but Monster Sanctuary is the Pokemon-like game in Game Pass. Just released a month or 2 back. But yeah, it's in Game Pass, and you catch a bunch of monsters to do turn-based battling. So the first thing everyone notices is the Pokemon link. The second thing everyone notices is the genre mix, because it's Pokemon / Metroidvania.
What? Where? Oh, hang on. What? I didn't know about this. Okay.
So the overworld map is a Metroidvania, right? You run around, you get more abilities as you go. To start with, you have the standard jump where you hold A to jump a bit higher, and then you unlock a double jump. And you can also, this is really neat, every monster that you've caught, you can have one monster appearing behind you at a time, and they each have an overworld ability, which they're not unique, they're shared. But, for example, you catch a Pidgey, right, and that can fly you, which it's not a very big bird, so it can just basically help you glide a bit, but it extends your jump. You can catch other ones which slash through walls or burn vines, and it all gels with what you'd expect that monster to do. Sort of, yeah. I was thinking Golden Sun actually was my callback.
Yeah, that was my first thought too. Actually,
or Breath of Fire. Energy. Breath of Fire did that years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I love it whenever a game does that. So the team of monsters that you're collecting for your turn-based battles also feed into your overworld experience. And generally that's fairly optional, but there are some of those which are required to progress with the Metroidvania stuff. You need your swimming monster to be able to cross lakes and swim up to the top to jump out and that kind of stuff. So the Metroidvania stuff works. It's not super tough in any way, shape or form. There's a couple of precise-ish platforming jumps, but there's no penalty for failing them. If you die by falling off a cliff, you just respawn with no penalty straight away. So it's a light, friendly, accessible Metroidvania, but it still works. And what you do is, as you're going through the levels, you find the trainers who you're then going to have your battles against. Well, there are very few trainers, actually. It's almost all wild enemies, but they're visible in the maps. There's no just random battles.
That was going to be my first question. Okay,
yeah.
Right, yep, so you can see them.
Yeah, your enemies are there, visible in the map, and so you can jump around them and weave in between them, which is very fun and satisfying, though ultimately quite a bad thing for your playthrough. They have an ingenious, certainly novel leveling scheme, where basically every time you explore a room with enemies in, the experience of the new enemies you're finding gets a little bit higher. So as you explore the whole map, the enemies that you find will span the whole range from 1 to 40. But if you go on a wild exploring kick and just race past all the enemies, you might find that when you finally engage one in battle, it's 5 levels higher than the last one you fought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you want to grind to catch... Yeah, basically. If you ever want to grind to catch up, like, you must stay in areas you've already been in, because otherwise you're leveling your enemies up. And if you want to go on a big exploration kick, just be aware that you're going to find yourself essentially under-leveled by the time you get to the end of it. But it works. So the genre mix is a big win, because actually the feeling of wanting to explore every last room in the Metroidvania meshes perfectly with the feeling of wanting to find every last monster for the capturing. It really works, and those are your two driving motivations through the game. They're generally the last two achievements, and yeah, all it is it's an adventure to see every part of the map and catch every monster, which is doable in, what was it for me? Probably 30 hours-ish. I don't actually remember. Feel free to look it up on my profile or on TA when I'm talking.
Yeah.
But it felt something like that. Suddenly, I did it.
How did you know 100% what I was about to do?
What I will say, so it's Pokemon-like in that you're jumping... 40 hours. It's Pokemon-like in that you're jumping around looking for these monsters, exploring. The genre mix, the overworld works wonderfully. Where it's not Pokemon, it's a lot less accessible with its strategy, and it's a lot more intricate and detailed with its strategy. So that's either a good or a bad, and it can be a really strong plus depending on who you are and how you like to play things. With Pokemon, you're going to catch your monsters, and if you can see their stats and their moveset, you already know what they do. Now, they may have more moves, which you have to find out through leveling, and that changes their mix. But fundamentally, the monster as it is today, if you can see its stats and its moves, you know what it's doing. Monster Sanctuary, every single one of the 101 monsters has its own unique skill tree, which is 3 sets of skill trees with different interlocking abilities, and you need to synergize them. Because again, going back to Pokemon, you can grind to level 100, and your enemies typically top out at like level 60 in any given game, right?
Yeah.
So you can win anything by just grinding. If you actually focus on one monster, you'll get ridiculously high levels. You can just hit everything over the head and you win Pokemon, right? Which is fun. It's what makes it accessible, and the strategy comes into the PvP. With Monster Sanctuary, you're capped at level 40, the enemies are capped at level 40. So at the end of the game, there is no grinding option. You must engage teams on equal terms, and they are synergized teams with smartly picked skill trees. So if you want to beat this game, you must engage with the strategy. Again, that's actually a big plus for many, many gamers. I just want to make it clear to people who want a Pokemon clone, this isn't a Pokemon clone. It has the Pokemon spirit of catch them all, but you will be required to engage with the skill trees and the team synergy. And even if you spec your monsters up properly, if they're monsters that don't fit together in their roles, every single one, you need to look at that tree and think, right, this one, you're going to be shields and buffs, but you don't heal, so I need to switch this one in because he has a thing where when he hits something hard over the head, he'll also heal the weakest team member. So those two are going to synergize beautifully on a team because you have 3 monsters out at a time. And it's when you start putting that kind of stuff together that you're really getting into the game. As long as you're willing to engage with that, again, it is required to have that hat on as you play, you're going to have a great time. And the other thing that's awesome about this game, nothing is missable. I don't just mean the achievements. Like, anything in this game, you can re-get at any point. So it doesn't matter what decision you take at any moment. If you have a unique monster, firstly, you can probably re-get the egg from a reward box if you really need to. But secondly, they won't let you sell or give away that egg. So they protect you from that bad decision. If you've got a unique item, again, you can't sell it for starters, but also it'll have a little gold box around it so you can tell, oh yeah, that's a special one, pay attention. So it's just nice in making sure that you don't accidentally lock yourself out of content. So I enjoyed it. It was a good thing. It was a bit more intense than I'd expected. And it is, like, those skill trees are intricate. You need to sit down and think about what you're going to do with stuff. So actually, at the moment I came to that wasn't particularly what I was up for. But once I got into it, I loved it. There's a good game in
I'm
there.
sold. I'm super sold.
Yeah. I mean, there's been quite a few Pokemon clones coming lately.
Nexamon was the other one.
Nexamon's good. I played through that. That was really fun. And we've still got that Temtem coming at some point.
Oh, yeah. I haven't thought about that in a while. Yeah. There definitely seems to be a market for it. I mean,
I'm surprised it took this long. Like, no one thought about jumping on that, 20 years ago.
I mean, there have been other games. I know Dragon Quest did a version of it. I know
they did their Dragon Quest Monsters or something like that, didn't they?
Yeah, it was Dragon Quest Monsters Joker, I think it was. And then I think like Ni no Kuni has that being a big part of their game as well. But it is interesting that it's taken this long to get out into the sort of the indie space, especially.
What I like about this, though, is it actually isn't a clone once you're beneath the surface. Like the Metroidvania aspect and the strategy aspects, it's truly its own game.
Right.
It's just that you happen to get a starter monster at the beginning and you have several rivals and etc, etc. But despite all the DNA, it's its own game, and the bits that it's introduced actually work.
Well, that gets us towards the end of the show, but I'll quickly read out some milestones that we've had. So we haven't had them for the last couple of weeks, so I've got quite a few to go through. So I'll just rattle these off quite quickly, because I want to make sure that our listeners get recognised. So we've got achievements 1 this week. We've got Matawai 13 with 5,000, Doughboy with 7,000, XLAX Jester with 8,000, Professor Pluto with 16,000, Niberios with 18,000, Enigma Gamer 77 with 20,000, ZZ Urban Spaceman Tarragon with 21,000, and Mad Eye Pad Eye with 38,000 achievements won. Gamerscore, Gwyn's Candle has reached 100,000 Gamerscore. Kung Fu Skills, one of our patrons, has reached 250,000. Black Buff has reached 500,000. Shadowless Edge has reached 500,000 as well, Cameron. But he didn't hit it on the dot, so he needs to start again. Tropan has reached 550. Mad Mike Forever, friend of the show, has reached 650. Tatey has reached 700. Kingsman 2625 has reached 700,000. Planting 42 has reached 900,000, as well as Wakapeel has reached 900,000. Mad Eye Pad Eye is at 1,050,000. And Thrash Forever has reached 1.5 million gamer score. He is catching me way too quickly. In terms of TA score, we've got XLAX Jester with 400,000, McLovin Legend 1 for 1.2 million TA score. Completed games, we've got Matt vs. Game with 100 completed games, Kush Moose with 300, and some of our notable leaderboards, we've got Big L is now in the top 1,000 gamer score leaderboards for the Xbox One games. Retro Chief 1969 is now in the top 1,000 gamer score leaderboard for point and click. Our Alex here is now in the top 1,000 True Achievements leaderboard for turn-based games. And Tatey is now in the top 50 for Gamerscore leaderboard for simulation racing. Congratulations, everyone. Doing some great work out there. Obviously, people have been playing a lot of games over the holiday break. And that pretty much wraps up the show. If you want to get in contact with us, you can message us on hello@realgamerscore.com is our email address. You can send us questions, or you can send them to the Twitter at realgamerscore. And as previously mentioned, we've got the Discord, discord.io/realgamerscore. And the Patreon, patreon.com/realgamerscore if you want to give us some cash, so we can do some competitions and giveaways in the near future. Otherwise, if you want to help out the podcast in other ways, you can subscribe to us on your platform of choice. Leave us a review. Tell us that you've left a review because our review aggregator is fucked. Retweet our tweets. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Patreon. You guys understand how a podcast and how word of mouth works and that sort of stuff. We always really appreciate it. Cram it into the boosting lobbies. Like I say every week, just naturally bring it up in conversation all the time. When people are like, oh, hey, you want to join us in this boosting session? I'm like, absolutely. And then just play like Song of the Week, like right down into the microphone so they can hear it.
Just to be clear, you want us to sing Call Me Maybe in boosting lobbies?
Yes, all the time. Absolutely.
All the time. Noted. Will do.
We'll have just sing it for the week. We'll have a new one for you next week. Alex, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
They can find me on Discord normally. I'm in both the AH101 and RGS Discords, and obviously I'm also on TA.
Brad?
You just find me on Discord or Twitter or True Achievements as well. Old Mate Clown.
For me, Neomaster on pretty much everything. I'm on TA, Xbox, but the best place to find me is in the RGS Discord, where I rule with an iron fist, unless one of the other people is there, in which case I politely let them deal with it. Alright, that's going to wrap up the show. We will catch you guys next week. Thanks.
See you.
Thanks very much. Bye.